Smoke filled the air. The ground was broken. Fires burned across the battlefield. The war between humans and the alien Velari had reached its final day. Commander Rain Carter stood tall among the wreckage. His armor was scratched, blood-stained. His gloves. Around him lay both human and Velari bodies, silent reminders of the battle that had just ended. He looked ahead. Only one Velari warrior was still alive. She knelt in the dirt, her armor cracked, glowing blue blood on her shoulder. Her breathing was slow. Her glowing eyes looked straight at him, calm, not afraid. Rain raised his weapon. This was it. One shot, and it would all be over. The alien warrior didn't move. Instead, she spoke softly, her voice shaking, not with fear, but something else. "Don't kill me. Human ... I can be yours." Rain froze. Her words echoed in his mind. Yours? What did she mean? She was unlike the others. Tall, graceful, and strong. Her silver-blue skin shimmered in the firelight. Her long white hair flowed behind her like silk. She didn't beg. She didn't scream. She simply waited, her hands resting on her knees. Rain took a step closer, gun still aimed. "What did you say?" She looked up. Her voice was soft again. "You defeated me. You could end my life. But I choose to live. Beside you." Rain narrowed his eyes. Was this a trick? The Velari were known for their clever traps. But something about her felt ... different. "You're not scared," he said. "No," she replied. "I'm tired of fighting. I saw how you fought. With strength, but also honor. You didn't kill the wounded. You didn't enjoy the war." She lowered her head. "If I must serve anyone, I would rather serve you." Rain lowered his weapon just slightly. His heart beat faster, not from fear, but confusion. Behind him, his comms crackled. "Commander Carter, is the target neutralized?" "Over." He looked down at her again. The wind blew softly through the broken ruins. The sky above them was dark. With Ashdod, he pressed the comm. "Target is ... secured. Taking her prisoner. Over." "There." Was silence on the other end. Then. "Understood. Bring her in." Rain stepped back and motioned for her to stand. "What's your name?" She stood slowly, carefully. She was taller than him, but she kept her eyes low. "Zilara." "All right." "Zilara," Rain said. "You're coming with me? No sudden moves, no tricks." "I gave myself freely," she said. "I won't fight again." He turned, leading her through the smoking ruins toward the extraction point. The walk was slow. Not because she was. Hurt, she moved like a hunter. But she stayed close, as if she had truly chosen to follow him. As they passed broken ships and fallen towers, Rain couldn't stop thinking. Why didn't she run? Why did her voice sound more honest than any enemy's? Why did she seem ... at peace? The dropship waited at the edge of the battlefield. Soldiers stood ready, weapons raised as they saw the alien prisoner. But Rain raised a hand. "Stand down. She's not a threat." They didn't like it. He saw it in their eyes. But they obeyed. Zilara stepped into the ship without a word. She sat at the back, silent. Rain sat across from her. Their eyes met again. "You meant what you said, didn't?" "You?" he asked quietly. She nodded. "You didn't just defeat me, Commander Carter. You changed me." He looked away, unsure how to respond. As the ship lifted into the sky, away from the ashes of war, Rain knew one thing. This wasn't the end of the battle. It was the start of something stranger, something dangerous, something he didn't understand yet. But deep inside, a voice whispered, "Be careful, Rain. She may not be your prisoner. She may be your fate." Asterisk. The dropship landed with a heavy thud. Commander Rain Carter stepped out first, scanning the military base. Armed guards stood ready. Behind him, Zelara, the alien warrior, followed quietly, no chains, no cuffs. The soldiers looked uneasy. Aye, Velari warrior walking freely? Not possible, but Rain had made a choice. The base commander, Colonel Briggs, walked up fast. You brought her here? Alive? Rain nodded. She surrendered. She asked to come. Briggs frowned. You're trusting her? Rain didn't answer. He just looked back at Zelara. She stood still, calm, her glowing blue eyes watching everything. Around her, but always returning to him, Briggs leaned closer. She's not a guest. She's a prisoner. Don't forget that. They placed Zelara in a holding cell glass walls, energy locks, and armed guards at every corner. But something strange happened. She didn't act like a prisoner. She sat on the bench quietly, her hands folded. She didn't test the walls. She didn't curse or threaten. She just waited. Rain watched her from the other side of the glass. Why? Aren't you angry? He finally asked. Zelara looked at him and said softly, Because I'm not your enemy anymore. Rain visited her every day, that she never lied, never begged, never asked for freedom. But she did ask questions. Why do humans fight so hard, even when they know they'll lose? Why did you spare me when you could have ended it? Do you always carry such pain behind your eyes? Rain didn't have all the answers. But he spoke honestly, and slowly the space between them began to feel different. One night, an alert rang out. A guard rushed to Rain's quarters. Sir, the alien Zelara escaped her cell. Rain jumped up, heart racing. He ran to the holding area. The cell was open. Guards were confused. No one had seen her leave. A dozen thoughts shot through his head. Had she tricked him? Was it all a lie? But then a voice came from behind him. I didn't escape. I came to see you. Rain spun around. There she was, calm, unarmed, standing just outside his door. You left the cell? He asked. It wasn't locked, she said. And I wanted to know if I was truly a prisoner. Or something else. Rain looked into her glowing eyes. There was no hate, no fear, only a quiet challenge. You should be locked up again, he said. Then do it, she replied. She didn't move. He didn't either. The silence was heavy, but not cold. Later, as she sat across from him in the private room, Rain asked, What are you really doing here, Zelara? She touched her chest. I was trained to fight, yes, but also to serve the worthy. My people believe in strength, but not just strength of body, strength of heart, of soul. She leaned closer. I saw that in you when you spared me. I gave myself to you, not because I was defeated, but because I found something worth following. Rain's hands tightened into fists. He didn't like being confused. He didn't like emotions clouding his thoughts, but she had already gotten inside. That night, Rain didn't sleep. Zelara's words replayed in his head. Not your prisoner. Something worth following. What was this? Some alien mind trick? Or was it something real? Outside, the stars were quiet. Inside the base, both human and alien walked in silence, but their paths were slowly, strangely, beginning to cross. The next morning, the base was quiet, but tension was growing. Commander Rain Carter stood outside Zelara's cell again. She had returned on her own. No escape, no resistance, just silence. He watched her for a while. She didn't even glance at the guards. Instead, she looked at the stars through the glass, her face calm but unreadable. He walked in. You could have run. She didn't turn. I didn't want to. You're a soldier. Your people are still fighting. Why stay here? Zelara turned slowly to face him. Because I was never meant to fight this war. I was trained for something else. Rain raised an eyebrow. You're a warrior. You nearly killed 2 of my squad in the field. Yes, she nodded. I know how to fight. But that's not why I exist. Rain leaned forward. Then why do you? She stepped closer, slowly. My kind, we don't just choose leaders. We bond to them. Rain frowned. Bond? We are born with instincts. When we meet someone, with the right spirit, the right fire, we feel it. We give ourselves fully. Mind, body, everything. He felt a chill in his spine. And you think I'm that person? I don't think, she said quietly. I know. Suddenly, the door buzzed open. A tech officer rushed in. Commander, sorry to interrupt. We scanned her vitals again. There's something strange. Rain glanced at Zalara. She didn't. Seemed surprised. The officer handed over the results. She's not like the others. Her DNA doesn't match standard Velari records. She's something more. Rain stared at the report. She's been modified. Or evolved, the officer said. Her energy levels are off the charts. Like a living beacon. Rain looked at her again this time, not as a prisoner, but something else entirely. Later, in private, he asked her, What are you? She answered softly, A key. To what? To peace. Or to something much worse. That night, alarms rang across the base that an enemy craft had entered orbit. Small, fast, it didn't fire. It just hovered above. Then a message played. Across all channels. Asterisk returned the one called Zalara. Or this planet will burn. Rain stared at the screen. The war wasn't over, Doc. It had just changed. He turned to her. Is this about you? She nodded. They don't want me to choose someone. From the enemy side. It means I'm broken to them. Dangerous. What do you choose? He asked. Zalara looked at him. I already did. Asterisk darkness settled over the human outpost. The sky outside the base glowed red from the enemy ship still hovering above. Number. Attacks, no warning, just watching. Commander Rain Carter didn't sleep that night. Not with Zalara under his protection. Not with his own people beginning to whisper. Asterisk. In the hallways, soldiers gave him sharp looks. Some said it out loud. She's a spy. He's blinded by her. This isn't love. It's weakness. Rain ignored them. He couldn't explain it. But Zalara hadn't lied once. She hadn't escaped. She hadn't attacked. She had saved him. And soon, she would have to do it again. Just past midnight, the power flickered. The cameras went dark. The lights died one by one. The alarms didn't even get a chance to scream. Then, boomed out an explosion. Tore through the east gate. Shadowy figures slipped into the base Velari. Assassins. Quiet, fast, deadly. They weren't here for a fight. They were here for her. Rain rushed toward the cells. 2 guards were already down. The third had a blade in his back. But as the attacker reached Zalara's door, something unexpected happened. Zalara was already out, and she was waiting. She moved like lightning. Her hands snapped around the assassin's throat and twisted hard. The alien hit the wall with a thud. 2 more appeared behind Rain. He fired. 1 dropped. The other raised a blade and lunged, but Zalara leapt in front of Rain, taking the cut across her side. She grunted, spun, and slammed the attacker to the ground. Rain looked at her, stunned. You're bleeding. She winced, but smiled. Better me than you. More footsteps echoed in the corridor. Too many. Rain grabbed her hand. Come on, we're getting out. They ran through back corridors, past the bunkers, toward the old shuttle bay that hadn't been used in months. Behind them, more Velari soldiers chased. But ahead was another surprise. Human troops, guns raised, faces cold. Commander Carter, one shouted. Step away from the alien. Rain. looked between both sides, his people behind the guns, her people behind the blades. Solara touched his arm. "Let me go." "No," he said firmly. "We're doing this together." He raised his hands. "She's not your enemy," he shouted. "She just saved my life." The human soldiers didn't move. But then, the Valkyrie did. One fired. Rain flinched, but the shot never reached him. Solara took the hit. She fell to her knees. Rain caught her before she hit the floor. Her breathing was rough. Her skin dimmed. "No, no, stay with me." She looked up, her voice weak. "They fear what I chose. That's why they want me dead." "What did you choose?" He whispered. She smiled faintly. "You." Something inside Rain snapped. He stood, holding her in his arms, and shouted, "If anyone wants to harm her again, they'll go through me first." Both sides paused. The silence that followed was louder than any war cry. And for the first time, both humans and Valkyrie lowered their weapons, just a little, because the enemy they feared was not each other anymore. It was what they were becoming together. Asterisk. The medical room was cold. Commander Rain Carter sat beside the bed, eyes fixed on the quiet figure lying under the glowing scanner. Solara hadn't woken since she took the shot. Meant for him. Her chest rose and fell slowly. Her silver-blue skin was pale. The glowing lines across her arm flickered, once bright, now fading. The doctors didn't understand her biology. The machines barely kept up. No one knew if she would survive. Rain hadn't moved in hours. "She's one of them," someone whispered outside. "She risked everything for a human." Someone else said rumors were growing. So was doubt. So was fear. But Rain didn't care. He remembered her voice. "You didn't defeat me. You changed me." He whispered back now, holding her hand gently. "I won't let you die." A soft sound. Her fingers twitched. Then her eyes opened, weak, but alive. She blinked at the light, and at him. "You didn't leave." Rain smiled. "You're terrible at dying." She let out a slow breath, almost a laugh. Later that night, they sat alone in the old training hall. Her wounds were bandaged. She leaned against the wall, tired but healing. Rain sat beside her. "You were trained to fight," he said. "So why did you choose me?" Zara looked at him. "Because I saw something in you that doesn't exist in my world. Mercy." She touched the glowing lines on her wrist. "In Valkyrie tradition, we bond for life. Once chosen, we don't break it." Rain's voice lowered. "And now?" "Now? I don't know if I'm Valkyrie anymore." The wind outside howled through the vents. The lights flickered. They sat in silence. Then softly she spoke. "I was raised to see humans as wild, violent creatures. But you're something else. You made me want to live. Not fight, just live." Rain turned toward her. "You didn't lose your people. You found something better." She looked at him with quiet intensity. "But what if neither side lets us have it?" He leaned forward. Their foreheads touched for a moment softly, carefully. No promises. Number. Lies. Just a quiet truth. They had already chosen each other, and across the galaxy, eyes were watching. Valkyrie High Command. Human generals. Shadow groups from both species. They didn't just see a prisoner and her captor anymore. They saw something dangerous. Something powerful. A bond that could shatter everything they believed. Message arrived in Rain's private com. "Bring her in, or we bring you both down." Rain stared at the screen. He looked at Solara and knew the real war hadn't started yet. Asterisk. Commander Rain Carter stood alone in the command room. The message still glowed on the screen in front of him. "Deliver the alien known as Solara for questioning. If not, both of you will be marked as traitors." The words felt heavier than any bullet. Behind him, Footsteps echoed softly. Zalara entered, quiet as always. She already knew. They want me back, don't they? She asked. Rain nodded. They don't trust you. They don't trust us. She stepped closer. Do you? He turned to face her. Her silver blue eyes held no fear. More than anyone. He said simply. Outside, the base was no longer safe. Half the soldiers looked at him like a hero. The other half like a traitor. Even Colonel Briggs had called him directly. She's changing you, Rain. You're starting to think with your heart, not your head. Rain had only replied, maybe for the first time. That's a good thing. They had one chance to run. A small scout ship in the old hangar. Just enough fuel to escape orbit. No weapons. No backup dot but freedom. Zalara stood by the window, watching the stars. If you stay, they'll turn on you. And if I leave, I become a fugitive, Rain said. She looked down. I won't blame you if you hand me over. I would, Rain said. I'd never forgive myself. He walked to the terminal .pause and entered the code to erase his clearance. You're not just a choice, Zalara. You're the only thing I won't regret. The escape wasn't silent. Sirens wailed as they sprinted through the base. Guards shouted. Lights flashed red. Orders echoed. Stop them. Commander Carter has gone rogue. Target is escaping with the alien. Rain fired warning shots, never. To kill. He still believed in his people. But not their orders. Zalara covered his back, fast and silent like a shadow. They reached the scout ship. Doors closed. Engines screamed to life. Lasers flew past the windows. The ship shook but lifted dot, and then stars silence freedom inside. Rain caught his breath. Zalara looked at him, her voice calm but strong. You gave up everything. He smiled faintly. No, I just stopped pretending that orders were more important than what's right. She stepped close. Then I'll stay by your side, wherever this leads. They didn't know where they were going, but they knew why they were going. Not to hide dot, not to run, but to fight for something. New dot for peace, for truth, for each other, but deep in the shadows of space. Both human and Velari warships began to move. A human fell in love with a warrior, and now the galaxy would burn to stop them. Asterisk, the stolen scout ship floated quietly in deep space. Stars blinked all around. No planets, no signals. No safe harbor, Commander. Rain Carter stood by the console, eyes scanning the nav system. His face was calm, but his heart was heavy. They were being hunted, not just by enemies, by both sides. Zalara sat nearby, healing but quiet. Her wound was better, but the look in her eyes said everything. They won't stop, Rain, she whispered. Not until one of us is gone. Rain didn't answer right away. He walked to her and took her hand. Then we make them listen. A ping lit up the console. A message. From both the Human High Command and the Velari Council. A rare joint broadcast. Stand down. Return the Velari immediately. You are now considered a threat to galactic stability. Rain looked at Zalara. She met his gaze. We don't belong to them, she said. We belong to each other. They turned on the comms. For the first time, spoke to the galaxy. Rain's voice was strong, clear, not as a soldier, but as a man who had seen the truth. You taught us to hate, to kill, to fear each other. But all we ever needed was one moment to speak. He paused. Zalara stepped forward beside him. We are not weapons. We are not tools. We are proof that peace is still possible, even if it started with a war. There was silence. Billions across space watched the transmission. Some cried, some shouted. Some simply listened, but not everyone agreed. Within the hour, 2 warships arrived, one Velari, one human. Rain prepared to defend. Zalara stood beside. Him, unarmed but proud. But then another ship appeared, and 5 more, small, civilian, mixed crews, smugglers, traders, scientists, people who believed in more than war. They formed a wall, a line between the couple, and the giants coming to crush them. One by one, the big warships backed down, not because they were afraid, but because the people refused to let love become rebellion. They let it become hope. Months passed. Rain and Zalara disappeared into the stars. They became a legend, a symbol. They never returned to war, but their message spread across worlds, and somewhere, out there in the black, a soldier and a warrior walked side by side. No longer enemies. Just theirs. The end. Asterisk.